I'm often asked, Ian, I know my team aren't performing, but where do I start? Where do I go and look? What do I look for to know what dials to push, what buttons to turn to get my team firing? Well, a number of years ago, I came up with a process for doing due diligence on a sales team, specifically for venture capitalists wanting to know how a sales team was tracking before they bought a company. And what we did was we wanted to make it really clear, really simple, and really easy for the VC to go in and do a quick assessment of the sales team. And so we came up with an audit tool which we called the 5 Ps. Now, as I go through these 5 Ps, because I'm just going to really skip through this really quickly, I'd like you to think through your sales team, your sales operation, and see where within these 5 Ps you have gaps. So the first P was people. Do they have the right people on board? And here specifically we're talking about sales management, sales leaders, salespeople. Then do they have the right process? And we're going to spend a bit of time on that today. And then what about proficiency? So the P for proficiency is, are the people skilled in terms of their product knowledge? Are they skilled in terms of being able to make the sale? Are they skilled in terms of being able to hold a commercial conversation and with C-level executives, so right at the top of the chain? And the fourth P is for, do they have a point of difference? So many organizations, their point of difference, their unique value proposition is not unique at all. And that makes their salespeople really struggle out there when it comes to answering the question, so why should I buy from you? What's so different about you? Why should I pay you the extra margin that you're asking above what your competitors are asking? And the last P is for priorities. Is the sales team working on the right priorities? So when we talk about priorities, what are we talking about? What we want to know in doing our due diligence is we want to know if the sales team is talking to the right people about the right things at the right time in the right way. Okay, so those are the 5 Ps of the VC audit. So I want you right now to put yourself in the shoes of the venture capitalist and think about your sales team. And let's just walk through these 5 Ps as they apply to your team. So here you want to ask yourself, do I have the right people? Do I have the right process? Are my people proficient? Do we have a clear point of difference, a value proposition that can stand up under scrutiny? And are my people working on priorities? Are they talking to the right people at the right time in the right way? Just give yourself a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being you've nailed it, 1 being you're just absolutely hopeless in that particular area. Now you've got a basis for which to go back and start improving the output of your sales operation. And in fact, if you were a member of our Sales Machine Black Belt group, this would be one of the first exercises that we'll put you through, where we take a complete look and do a complete audit of your sales operation through the eyes of these 5 Ps, where we establish a bench line from which we can spring rapidly forward and in that way get some really quick runs on the board and get some early traction. So having looked at those 5 Ps in relation to your sales operation, which one of those needs the most work? This is the one you need to jump onto today, because this P is costing you money. So if you haven't taken a note yet, put a big asterisk, make a note, jump on and clean this P up. If you just did that, our time together would have been well worthwhile. Okay, great. So now, Ian, what do? Let's just say you've decided that you want to clean up your, take any P. Let's point of difference. Where do you start? What do you do? So now let me give you the formula that you can apply to any sales result that you want to improve. You can apply this formula to any one of the 5 Ps. And by the way, this is the formula that lives in the heart, in the common area of these 5 Ps. And we call this formula the profitable sales revenue formula, and you're about to see why. So let me start by asking you a question. What exactly is it that you want from your sales team? What do we want? Well, you may want margin, you may want improved accountability, you may want increased revenue, increased appointments, account growth, you may want your territories covered better. You may just even want your salespeople to stop making promises that they should never have made in the first place, putting your operations team under huge pressure. So ultimately, no matter what it is that you want, it comes down to a result. You're looking for a result. And that's really the first part of this formula, is to be very clear on what result is it that you're looking for. Now, it's important to note that your results, your sales results, can only come from P, which stands for productivity, so the efficiency of your system, the efficiency of each individual within the sales team, their productivity, the way they optimize their time, call cycles, sales cycles, territory management, these are all elements of productivity. Then we have Q, and Q is the quality or the effectiveness of the sales interaction. So here we're talking about the salespeople's communication when they're either face-to-face or on the phone or even through email. Also in quality, we're talking about your marketing materials, sales collateral, your sales tools, your sales templates, everything that communicates your message either via the system or by the individual. And then finally we have the M, which is for motivation. Here we're talking about the motivation of the team, the motivation of each individual within the team, their willingness to get the job done. So let me ask you a question. How difficult right now would it be for you and for your team to increase productivity, the efficiency of the way that you currently do things? How hard would it be to get just a lift of, say, 10%? It really shouldn't be that difficult. Any sales team, you have to be able to find 10% that you can increase productivity by. I mean, they can make 10% more phone calls. 10% only increase in productivity. I mean, that's not a big ask. What about quality? Could you and your team lift the quality of your interactions with the customer just by 10%? So let me share a practical example here that you can take and apply to your sales operation. You know that very first email that your salespeople send when the prospect says, "Send me some information." What is the sole objective of that email? The whole purpose of that email is to move the sale forward, right? Yet, what I see mostly is if you've got 6 or 7 different salespeople, you've probably got 6 or 7 different versions of that first email going out. And is it any wonder that your salespeople end up in telephone tag, trying to chase them, did you get my email, did you get it, or whatever the case might be. Whereas we all know that that first email, where does it end up? It tends to end up in that file called, "I'll get to one of these days." So, what if you actually got that very first email written by a highly skilled copywriter, where they invested time to come up with a subject line that bumped up your open rate. And then once they opened, they got engaged with the email to the point where they were compelled to want to hear more. Could you do that? We're just talking 10% more prospects to open the email and respond positively. And what about motivation? Is there something you could do to increase motivation of the sales team? Really? Let's not say 10%. Let's just say 5%. So here we go. If you increased motivation by 5%, you increased quality by 10%, and you increased production by 10%, what's the overall impact on your sales going to be? Okay, so let me give you a real-life example of how we've used this formula functionally to change a sales result. Because I really want you to take the sales result formula and overlay it across your business. So a couple of months ago in our Black Belt System Sales workshop that we were running, one of the companies that we're working with had an issue with getting their appointments to stick. So they set online demonstrations, and a lot of the time when they would then call back to have the demo, the person wasn't there, oh, sorry, I've got something else going on, etc., etc. Those demonstrations weren't sticking. In fact, what we found was that out of 10 demonstrations that were set, they were only doing around about 4. So we had to improve our result, and the result we were looking for was increased stickiness of demonstrations. So what we did was we set up a series of 4 reminder emails where each of these emails was actually wordsmithed by a copywriter. And the goal of each of these emails was to really sell in the value of being there for the demonstration. In other words, reminding them of why they set up the demonstration in the first place. So really selling in that demonstration again through a series of emails. And that was the quality piece. It wasn't just any email. It was a qualitative email written by copywriters to really send the message home. Then from a motivation standpoint, that was easy. We just put out 2 movie tickets for the sales rep who at the end of the fortnight had the most demos. So the productivity piece in this case was the system. So the system they used was to use their CRM to automate the 4 consecutive demo nurturing reminder emails. And in this particular case, they went from 4 demonstrations out of 10 to a little over 6. So when you consider 4 to a little over 6, that's a huge result. Okay, there's a question here from Dan. How much was the copywriter? Actually, it wasn't expensive at all. Went through elance.com. As I recall, I believe it was around $200, $250. That's US for the 4 emails. So it really wasn't expensive, especially when you consider the outcome. And, wrap that around the 6 salespeople they had. That's a huge outcome. Great question. Thank you. Okay, so here's what you're going to do to apply this to your current situation. Number 1, pick a result you want changed, whatever result it is, and have a look at the P.